NHL teammates for 13 seasons. Now back together as on-air teammates. You are listening to the Kess and Juice Podcast. Hockey, life, and other stuff. Here are your hosts, Ryan Kessler and Kevin Bieksa.
Hey, we're back. Episode 8, Kess and Juice Podcast. Your host, Kevin Bieksa, is me. My co-host, you know him, Ryan Kessler. Best looking guy in the long-term IR right now. Hey, Kess.
Hey, buddy. How are you?
Good. Good week here in California, weather-wise. How's it in Michigan right now?
It's 20 degrees and sunny. It's it's that type of year, but at least it's sunny. Can't complain.
I felt like we already talked about this, but have you seen the weather in Newfoundland lately?
No, I don't follow the weather in Newfoundland. We don't really get that news coverage in Michigan.
Well, have a look. All the cars are covered in snow right now, right to the top. Do you ever get that there or no?
No, I don't think we get that much snow, but that will be my first thing I'll do. I'll jump right on that and look at the pictures.
You're an idiot. Let's talk this week about the flashy goals that we've seen this year. We've seen 3 of them. Forsberg did one. It's a slight variation the way he scooped it. And then how do you say the guy's name? You're really good at pronouncing it.
Svechnikov.
You're like a little American Don Cherry right now.
Svechnikov. There we go.
Svechnikov, I think.
Svechnikov. Yeah, there we go. That's close enough.
Svechnikov scored 2 goals this year, and it's referred to as the Michigan goal, which you hate the name of, right?
Yeah, well, the NHL says it's the – how do you say that word again? They call it his goal. So I think it should be called the Mike Leg goal. He did it 24 years ago, I think, and – I mean, he did it in a pretty big game, NCAAs, and it was a big goal, and he's not getting any credit for it, which he should.
Also dabble with All Star Break, which we're coming up on, and first of all, just kind of the rest that's needed. The whole concept, it kind of happened in the middle of our careers, and we took advantage of it with some rest and vacation. So talk briefly about that, see if you can remember any good places that you visited during like the 5-6 year day break.
Yeah, let me see if I went to Newfoundland or not. I'll look into that.
Well, you're just a comedian today. I like it. You know what I like more than comedian Kess? Grumpy Kess. And we haven't had Grumpy Kess too many episodes yet.
It's tough to be grumpy when you live on Paradise Island.
Yeah, okay. Let's also talk about, even though you're a hockey nerd, let's talk about football and just briefly the playoffs. Super Bowl's been set now with probably the 2 most deserving teams, and we'll talk and see how many games you've watched and how many games I've watched and kind of our perspective of that sport. It's a different sport than hockey, and interesting, right? It's that guys are competing at the highest level. It's super physical. There's great coaching. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Detroit Lions didn't quite make it that far this year. So,
I went to a couple Lions game this year. It was first ever NFL game was this year. Or no, that's false. We went to the Bills game as a team and a Seahawks game. But it was my first Lions game this year. Had a good time. They lost. They actually played the Chiefs. So, I'll talk a little bit about that.
A little parallel right there, right? Like, it's not like The Bachelor, so we won't talk about it for too long. But it's still a pretty interesting sport, nonetheless.
Yeah, it's a great sport. I enjoy watching it. Obviously, having people over on Sundays and the whole Super Bowl parties or Sunday football parties is always a good time.
Coming up this week, you guys are going to have the pleasure of listening to this guy tell stories for 30 minutes, and without Kess and I getting a word in, he is a 20-goal scorer in the NHL in his career. And if you think I'm joking, look up his stats. Literally, he had 20 on the dot. So, but he didn't make his living, and he'll tell you, he didn't make his living scoring goals, did he, Kess?
No, he didn't. He made his living with his hands and punching people in the face, but and protecting his teammates. And to be honest, being the life of the locker room, he's a funny guy, and I can't wait to talk to him.
Yeah, one of the toughest pound for pound guys that I ever saw play the game, and one of the best teammates too, as far as keeping it light and entertaining. And you guys are gonna firsthand witness this guy, and the interview could have went on for 3 hours, and he probably wouldn't have ran out of material. So we're lucky to have Darcy Hordichuck join us next. So, Kes, you were right. 24 years ago, Mike Legg did score the first quote-unquote lacrosse-style goal, and he was playing for the University of Michigan, so that's why it's referred to as the Michigan goal, which you already stated that you hated. And he was playing – it was a pretty important game in the NCAA tournament against the University of Minnesota, and it was kind of the first documented goal we saw scored where he had the puck behind the net, he scooped it up, and he kind of slid it in the top corner. And then this year – I can't believe it's taken this long, but in the NHL, we had our first replica goal, and it was your buddy Svechnikov, who did it twice, right? I'm not going to let you say his name anymore.
No, thank you. Yeah,
and then we saw
no disrespect.
Yeah, none at all. We love Russians on this show. And little side joke there. And Forsberg did not the exact same goal, but very similar, just a little bit different pickup, but slid it in the top corner. So go back to Mike Legg's goal, right? Like that's, Michigan hockey. You're saying that Mike Legg should probably get credit for the goal, and they should coin it the Mike Legg goal as opposed to the Michigan goal, even though it's a team sport, and it's great to see the team get the credit for the individual play.
It is a team sport, but that's like doing the lacrosse style goal in playoffs, not the regular season. It was the NCAA tournament. It was a big game, and I want to say it was a winning goal. And I'm just going to wind it back a little bit. That was probably the first time you ever said I was right in a conversation. So I'm very happy. Oh, 100%. 100%.
I feel like
you always challenge me with this shit. Always. You challenge me every time.
I challenge you in a big brother way, and then when you do really good things and you make great statements that are accurate, I fluff you.
First time you fluffed me. I really enjoyed it, by the way, so thank you for that.
Okay. All right. I'll make more of a point of doing it often. But your point was the goal.
My point was Legger did it in playoffs, basically, NCAA tournament at the University of Michigan. I'm fine with it being called the Michigan, but at the same time, I think it should be called the Mike Legg goal. I don't think it should be called I'll cue you on this one, the Carolina player's goal.
Who calls it that, though? People are honestly saying it's the Svechnikov goal?
Yeah. People are honestly saying that it's his goal.
Millennials are saying that?
The goal, the one lacrosse style goal that I'm very impressed with is Forsberg's. That was a different style. He picked it up on his toe without even like scooping it.
But in stride, right? He did
in stride, yeah.
Off the offensive zone face-up. That was impressive. You're right.
That impressed me. But the most impressive thing I've ever seen in hockey wasn't actually at a hockey game. It was Marty Turco, Brendan Morrison, and Mike Legg were at a University of Michigan game. And if you haven't seen this, YouTube this. It was intermission. They were at the far blue line area. They were playing Scoro. And Turco gets up, shoots it, goes in that little like 2-inch hole that they have at the far end. Mo comes up, same thing, like in between periods, fans are going nuts.
But like sauces it in the air though, didn't he? Like it was like a high sauce.
High sauce. Mo wanted to one-up Turco, so he high-sauced it, went in again. Fans are going nuts. If you've never seen a game at Yost, it gets loud. And then Mike Legg gets up, picks it up, scoops it up in midair, and throws it like lacrosse style, bounces, and goes in the score hole, the 2-inch hole. That was the most impressive thing I've ever seen. I've seen you do that pregame in Anaheim.
Wow. Tell that story.
I was impressed. So Juice and I always tape our sticks on the bench before the game. It's kind of just a routine we do. And this one time they had a Scoro out there, and they had a bunch of players out there, or a bunch of
suits,
contestants that were I don't know what you call them, suits. Sure.
They were corporate guys. They were all walked out
were
in
they?
suits, right? Yeah.
So,
they all had suits on. So
of course, in pure Juice fashion, he chirps them all. And it's like, this is terrible. This is
nice
like,
try,
I
bud.
can do better.
Nice
so
try,
he goes
bud.
out there and he backed up his word and he sauced it into that like 2-inch hole. And my jaw dropped. I was like, wow. And I was thinking about doing it, but I just let him have his, day in the sun and we moved on. But that was the most impressive thing I've seen from you on the spot after chirping people. Because it's not as easy as it looks because the puck always veers to one side.
Oh, it's hard. When you saw something the length of the ice, the spin affects which way it's like curling, right? Like you spin it and it pushes one way or the other. So like I remember chirping the people, and then I remember the guy who was organizing the events like, well, why don't you come out and show them how it's done? And then in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh shit. Like this is almost an impossible shot. And then when I walked on the ice, I knew you were kind of watching me. And when I put it in the net, I was so surprised that I did it. But like in stride, I just turned around and just walked off the ice and walked right by you. And we didn't even look at each other. But inside, I'm like, yes, I'm so happy Kes saw that.
I gave you one of the okay looks. Okay, I see you.
So that goal, just for the fans to understand, because they do that competition at the All. Well, they did it at least last year in the skills competition. We have to scoop the puck up and put it through the obstacles, right? Like the Mike Legg style thing. To do that thing, because you talked about how impressive Forsberg's goal was, but to do that thing when the puck is wet and cold and frozen, and then your stick tape is a little bit wet, is almost impossible. So if you do it, and for that event, if you see them, they'll replace the puck before with a hot, warm puck that's dry. So it's way easier to scoop up, right? With a dry stick and a dry puck. But Forsberg did it like in mid-game off of the face-off, which made his so impressive to me.
Yeah, that's exactly why it was impressive to me. When I watched it in replay, I was like, "There's no way. How'd he do that?" And I had to watch it like 4 times before I actually saw how he actually scooped it up. I thought he like picked it up on his backhand at first. I was impressed.
So when Legg did his goal, he said he got death threats. He got people threatening him and saying, you're showing up the other team. Because remember, when we came in the league, that was considered showboating. And you didn't do that kind of stuff, right? So for him to do something like that back then was unprecedented. But now, I don't think it's looked upon as showboating. I think for the most part, the rest of the other teams are saying, well, that's impressive. And kids actually practice. Like, how many times have you gone onto the ice and the pucks are all just laying there and you've gone and picked the puck up and practiced that? Like my kids at my academy and on my junior Ducks team, and I'm sure your Little Caesars team, they practice this stuff every day, right? Crazy. Just like the Pettersson, the Pettersson thing on social media where he picks the puck up and then he throws it up in the air and he throws his stick at the same time and the stick somersaults. Then he catches his stick. Then he catches the puck in the air right after. Cool. Like kids, we did that yesterday. I did the first time I've ever done it. I completed it, but then another 12-year-old kid did it right after me.
Made you feel really good.
Oh shit, right? Like I thought it was so cool. I'm like, did you guys were like, I saw that, coach. That was amazing. And then another kid's like, yeah, like I just did that. Like I can show you. I'm like, oh, cool, cool, bud. You're the best.
But how would you feel if you were on the ice and someone did it to you when you're standing in front of the net? Would you not like overhand, 2-hand chop his arm? Because that's what's going through my mind. Yeah,
I would a little bit, but I don't think I'd have any hard feelings afterwards. I would think he got us. And if you see, goalies are already defending it. There's been a couple guys that have tried it, and what the goalie does is as soon as he sees him try to go down and pick the puck up, he almost sits up and like protects that top corner with his shoulder. I've seen a couple goalies stuff, or I saw there was a D-man who slashed the guy's stick as he was trying to scoop it around. Right?
Yeah, it was that Carolina player that did it 2 times.
Svechnikov.
Yeah, he tried to do it against Winnipeg, and D-man slashed his stick.
You know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see when a guy goes down to do it, the defenseman jumps over top of the net and just sucker punches the guy in the head. Like just swings with his glove on and just like cold cocks him and then takes his fine or suspension afterwards and puts an end to this goal.
Yeah, put an end to that. I agree with that. I'd want to do the same fucking thing. Shit, that's my one F-bomb for the show.
Yeah, we've been told we got a we got a quota now. We're gonna swear one time each max per show, just because we have a lot of kids that like to listen to our nonsense, and we're trying to set a good example, as we always have, right, Kes?
Yeah, sometimes it just falls out of the mouth. It's like a noun that I use. It's yeah.
Swearing's actually swearing's a form of intelligence, they say, right? Like in most cases, there's a few exceptions.
Yeah. Continue. Obviously, I'm one of the exceptions. I see it.
No. Didn't say that. I'm fluffing you. I'm telling you you're intelligent now.
Thank you. You allude to the fact, but thank you.
Let's move on to the All Star Break. All right.
Let's go.
So I don't know when it started. I think it was the last CBA, probably 2012, 2013, when they started giving a break just before. You remember it more vividly than I do.
Yeah, I remember the first year the NHL did it. They completely messed it up. They had teams all over. I think it was 3 weeks where they had teams on bye weeks, and it was all over the place. Now they do half the league before the All-Star game, half the league after, and you play your first game back or your first couple games back, you play the team that was on the same bye week as you. Well, back in the first year, I remember coming back and just getting pumped or pumping a team that just got off bye week, and we were playing for a week. So, I mean, you go on this break and you rest and recover. You work out kind of, but you're not skating. You come back, you have maybe 1 day of practice, 1 pregame skate, and then you play. You don't feel good. And if you play a team that's been playing for a week, it's a huge advantage, to the point where first period, you'll be lucky if you're not down 5-0. So, I think the league did something right with, changing it up and having the week before and week after and having teams play each other on the same bye week. But saying that, with the bye week, it condenses the schedule so much that, with the back-to-backs and the 3 and 4 days with travel, it makes it hard throughout the year. But
they have to condense usually the second half of the schedule, right? Where you would have, sometimes there'd be segments where you'd have 1 game in 3 or 4 days at home. Well, you don't really get that, right, with the bye week. Now it seems you're playing every other day, a lot of back-to-backs, or at the very best, once in every 3 games, which at times isn't enough rest. But going back to like the way they had it with teams that were on bye playing against teams that were already mid-season form, hockey is one of those few sports where it's a little bit different than football. We'll talk about football in a bit, but in hockey, especially when you play back-to-backs, when you start the game, the second game, usually the team that played the night before has the better first period. Because hockey, it's more important, I think, to be sharp than it is to be rested, right, initially. Mm-hmm. And then they usually say, if you're playing a team that played a back-to-back the night before, you're like, okay, they're going to have a good start because they're sharp, they just played, but we should be able to wear them down as the game goes on, right? That's the way we usually saw it. So,
I think it's kind of the same way with football, though. My buddy TJ Lang, who's retired, he played 8 years as the center for Green Bay and then another 2 for the Lions. I became friends with him a couple of years ago, and just picking his brain on when an NFL team has a bye week, he says they come back after the bye week sleepy, and their first quarters usually they try to keep it within 2 touchdowns because they know the other team's already. They're in the fight still, right? Where you have that week off, you kind of rest. I heard some guys go on vacations and then they come back and you train for a week, then you're in have to be in game mode again. So it's tough in both sports.
What are some of the trips that you've gone on in the past over break? Because I think it's needed, though, at that point of the season. These are kind of where you get into the dog days of the season where it's such a long, grueling year. There's so many games that you're playing injured. And you get to this break, you look forward to it, whether you have kids or you don't, whether you have your wife or a girlfriend or whatever, you usually have something planned, right? And you need a good 5 days off. If you live in cold climates in Canada, in the East Coast, you go somewhere usually warm and sit on a beach. If you live down here in Cali, then maybe you go to Mexico, but also you'll maybe go to a snow destination. Or what are some of the places you went? Do you remember?
Went to Maui a couple times, once in Vancouver, once with Anaheim. Went to
Whistler.
I went to Whistler once. Went to Michigan once. Palm Springs I went once. All those. It's just honestly to one. Usually I have family come in and we all go together, or it's just Andrew and I. It's obviously it's a time to rest and recoup, and I think it's needed. It's a long season, and it's different. I always say it's needed because everybody's sore from working out, right? Like in the summer, and then you play your first game and your workout so well, or your game's sore and you can't move. You feel like you've been hit by a truck. So like you played 40-something, 50 games, getting hit by a truck for 50 times in a row, and then you get those 5-day breaks, and it just allows you to recoup and get ready for that push the second half of the year.
It's funny now that I'm not playing anymore, and you'll kind of get there. You kind of forget about like what's going on in the regular season, and then like the other day. But although I do in the back of my mind know All-Star games coming up and All-Star weekend, you kind of forget where guys are with their seasons. And I'm looking at Instagram, and it's just like all my friends are in Maui or they're in Cabo, and like, oh crap, it must be the break, right? And you're looking at like, Edler in Mexico, and you're looking at like Gabranson where he's at, and you're looking at like Lindholm and all these guys in their different areas, and Raquel's camping in the middle of the woods with his dogs and his wife. Like it's cool to see everyone and what they do and what they need. There's some guys that are going to the snow, right? Like Whistler, Park City, like some of those kind of venues. Everyone kind of looks for something different, whatever they need, for that break, which is cool to see, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's usually like 5 to 10 spots where guys go, and that's where everybody goes. You see a lot of guys from other teams. And when I went to Maui, I saw a bunch of guys from other teams there, and it's
Four Seasons, right? Four Seasons, Wailea.
Exactly. So it's good to see other guys that enjoying themselves too.
Let's push this into the football thing, because I kind of listened to what you said there with your boy TJ Lang, and I a little bit disagree with you, and I'll give you my reason why. I think in football, rest is so critical to their season, because especially for like if you're talking about the offensive and the defensive line, right? Like they're not a very skilled position in the sense of you're not looking to do different things. It's more about who's stronger, right? Every snap, who's stronger, the O-line or the D-line? And if you look at the two teams that are going to the Super Bowl, which is going to be a great matchup, San Francisco and the Chiefs, Kansas City, they both had bye weeks, right? So they didn't have to play that extra game, and they basically cruised through both of their games to get there. And I think like a team like Seattle ran out of steam. I think the Titans, who are primarily a running team, right, behind Henry, they just ran over everybody on the way, and then they get to the Chiefs, and who knows? Maybe they run over them again if they're fresh, but they're tired. So I think in football, that's the one exception to the sport where that extra week I think is huge to have guys just fresh, work out at their own pace, heal some injuries, and then it's up to your coach to keep you sharp on the offensive side. Don't agree with me. If you don't agree with me,
I don't agree with you, because Kansas City's first game back in playoffs on bye week, they were down 24-0. Do you remember that?
I sure do. Unbelievable game against the
Texans. They came back after they found their legs. You get a bye week, it even happens in playoffs. So with Kansas City,
that's a good point. That's a very good point, actually. That's fine. And just like we talked about, the team that played the week before has the advantage early on.
Yeah, they played a playoff game. Yeah, they might be a little tired, which they probably ran out of steam later in the game, and Kansas City found their legs and came up with the game plan, and I forget the score. It was an unbelievable game though, and an unbelievable comeback, and
51-31.
Yeah, so he's something special, Mahomes, and it's going to be an unreal. It's an electric offense against a smash mouth running defense or running offense on the other side. So, but they also have Jimmy G, who, some people call him the next Tom Brady, which, I can see the comparisons.
Well, yeah, they played together for 6 years. Hey, the 49ers, best 49ers best defensive line you've ever seen before. And their GM, John Lynch, he was actually one of my favorite safeties when he played for Denver for all those years. There's stories about him, and my son tells me this, right? Like, he reads about all this stuff. He's been constructing their defense for 3-4 years now to get to the point where they have a dominant front four, the linebackers they have, the corners that they have, and the safeties. Like, they've built this whole team around their defense, and it started years and years and years ago. But when you watch this team play, their front four, and I know we're getting pretty technical here for people that don't like football. They're like, what the hell is this guy talking about? Like, front four. But their front four, they get to the quarterback every play, and it's fun to watch, right? If you know football, I love watching them. So, like, what a matchup here to have the best quarterback, arguably athlete in the game, against this front four and this defense, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be a good game. Who do you think is going to win?
I'll tell you what, I'd like to see the Chiefs win. I just think they're too dynamic, explosive. I think it's the start of what could be maybe a dynasty it's a little passing of the guard from Brady to Mahomes. I'd really like to see that. But you know what else it just reminded me of? Have you seen, you're on Twitter a little bit more, but have you seen Richard Sherman's corner for the 49ers for those pretty smart guys, Stanford grad?
Uh-huh.
Have you seen his exchange with that Darrelle Revis after that game? Revis was another, I think he's a borderline Hall of Famer, retired cornerback. Did you read some of their exchanges? Because that's something that you don't have in hockey. You don't have guys chirp, besides you and Johansson, you don't have guys chirp each other in the media. And these guys are going back and forth on Twitter, and for me, it's so entertaining.
Yeah, I loved it. Obviously, with Revis, he used to be one of the best corners in the game, and for him to say what he said, remind me, but I think it was something about you're afraid to get beat and you don't want to cover anybody. Then Sherman clapped back and said, enjoy walking.
He's like, you're a zone corner. You don't follow. You should be following around the top receiver in man-to-man, but you're just a zone corner hiding. And then he shows a clip of Revis just getting dusted by some guy, like falling, and he goes, How did your 9th season look, bro? And they just go back and forth. It was so entertaining, I thought.
Yeah, I think there should be more in sports like that.
Did you see the Taves Keith fight the other day?
I did not see it. I saw the end of it. Is there actual footage of the fight though?
Yes, there is. There's footage of kind of the end when Taves and Keith were kind of like, I think Taves was on top of him. Keith's helmet was off. They don't show the start of it, but like right away, I'm laughing and I'm thinking Kess versus Juice.
Yeah, we've had a couple dust off in practice. It never was caught on cameras. Never caught on camera though. That was the only one caught on camera was Willie and I, right? Where we were battling in the corner and we were just pushing each other and they made some big deal of it. And then Willie and I walked like hand in hand into Hockey Night in Canada game on Saturday night.
Yeah, that's
you
right.
Remember that?
I do remember that. Now that you say that, that was good. Whose idea was that to walk hand in hand?
Willie. It happened organically. We just showed up at the same time and we rounded the corner, saw the camera. So Willie grabbed me and pulled me in and we walked together.
Or organically, Willie, we're talking about Willie Mitchell. He went out at the one time. We had a practice where it was pretty heated and intense. And I remember he went after Mason Raymond in the power play penalty kill drill. And he was kind of picking on Mace. And then I remember Shane O'Brien came down and jumped in the way. And I think that was on film too. And that was at UBC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was on film.
Do you remember that one too? That was caught on camera. Like, oh, Canucks are heating up right now. There's fights in practice.
Let's blow it out of proportion. It happens way more than what people think.
You think things are blown out of proportion in Vancouver, in the media?
No, not just Vancouver. I think all of sports everywhere.
Do you want to clarify your Canadian, I hate Canadian comment while we're talking about things being blown out of proportion? Explain that quickly.
Yeah, okay. So we're about to play Canada. We're in the Olympics. It's the day before, and some reporters.
2010.
2010 Olympics, and we're in Vancouver, and some reporters asking me about, the dislike between the Americans and the Canadians. And, I just threw it out there and kind of put my foot in my mouth. Like, I hate Canadians, or I hate Canada, something like that. But it was taken out of context because we were talking about the teams, not the country.
Yeah, so, the hockey team. You hate the Canadian hockey players, which you should.
Yeah, and obviously, we want to beat them. That's the one team that's probably one of the biggest rivals in sports is USA Canada. I think, and hockey is because we always have such a good close game, especially in women's hockey. That's basically the only two good teams out there. And,
that's their sport. That's their sport.
Yeah, so it was supposed to say, I hate the Canadian hockey team. The players on it, obviously we think some of them are arrogant, and they probably think we're arrogant. And
no, not the Americans. Americans aren't arrogant.
There we go. Okay. Sweet. No,
I'm on your side, but I as soon as I read that, I'm thinking, oh boy, that's quotations.
And then it blows out of proportion. So, like, obviously I don't hate Canada. I still visit. I still go back, and I think Vancouver's beautiful. And for the guy he got me for sure, which good for him. I mean, he got everybody to read his paper.
Who was that rat? Do you remember?
I can't remember. I'll look back and I'll find it out.
Just a pigeon reporter that got too many.
Got me at a vulnerable time. I mean, I was 24, and we were just, because they talk to you and they put their microphone by their side like they're just bullshitting with you, right? And then they're like, oh, yeah, talking about the Canadian Americans. And I'm just, oh, yeah, I hate the Canadians. I said it like that, and then he came out with Kessler hates Canada. So sweet.
And you were 24? You were dumb when you were 24.
Oh, I was an idiot. I was immature. I wasn't a male adult doesn't enter his last stage of adolescence till 27. If you did not know that, there's a tidbit for you.
Oh, that's a good one. I don't know if it's true, but that's a good one. Is it true?
Look it up. It is true. So there's 3 stages. I think I was just entering my second stage. So obviously I wasn't mature enough yet to figure out the question. I blame Darwin or I blame human nature. What
are you talking about?
I have no idea. I'm just trying to talk my way out of this conversation.
I don't even know how we got onto this topic, but I think it's important for people to just know, because we have a lot of people that listen from Vancouver, and Kess doesn't hate Canada, nor did he ever. He just got misquoted, which will happen to other players in that market, as well as Toronto, as well as Montreal. It goes with the territory. But everyone forgave you, I would say.
Thank you. Talking about idiot reporters, how about the guy that thought you were me? And you did a full interview as me.
So guy comes up to me in LA in the playoffs, and I think I scored my first playoff goal that game, right? So at the very least, like, know who I am. So he comes into the room, and I just did a scrum in the LA dressing room. We won the game, and I did the scrum with 20, 30 reporters. And then this guy kind of lags behind. Then he comes over to me after looking for that quick exclusive, and he goes, so, hey, Ryan, talk about, playing playing in the Olympics, or playing with Dustin Brown, or playing USA Hockey or something like that. And I'm thinking in my head, this guy is a moron, right? I got a few options: just walk away, correct him right away, or just go with it. And I decided, you know what? If he thinks I'm Ryan Kessler, then I'm going to be Ryan Kessler. And I did the whole interview. And at first, and it's still out there if you want to listen to it, it's just all tongue in cheek. But you were so mad at me. I remember the next day, you're like, "You're such a loot," and I'm like, "It was tongue in cheek, but it was a joke."
I don't remember me being mad.
So mad at me.
Oh, you like Grumpy Cass, so you should have enjoyed it.
You pushed Cole over after because you were so mad at me the next day.
You're such a liar.
Up next, Darcy Hordichuck. He's going to tell us about some of his infamous tales of pranks, theft, vandalism, and all the other things he accomplished in his hockey career.
You're listening to the Cass and Juice podcast.
All right, you guys, a little special treat for you here today. Our next guest, I'm going to take my time with this intro because I might not get another word in for the rest of the interview. He is from Kamsack, Alberta, which is super fitting. He's a 2000 draft pick, 180th overall to the Atlanta Thrashers. If you don't remember them, they turned in the Winnipeg Jets. He's listed at 6'1", 212, but he definitely played a little heavier, probably 220. Played 542 games. He had 1,140 penalty minutes. He played for Atlanta, Phoenix, Florida, Nashville, Vancouver, and he ended at Edmonton. And digest this for a second. He had 147 NHL fights. Think about this. He fought George Perosh 11 times, Jody Shelley 7 times, Stortini 5, Laroque, Bugard, and Chris Simon 3 each. So it's none other. And now he's more successful than when he played. Just ask him. Darcy Hordichuck. Hordy, what's up?
Boys, what an honor to be on this podcast. You're the last two guys I thought I'd be talking to on a podcast. But it's Kamsack, Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan's the province next. I wish at times I was from Alberta, but I'm from Saskatchewan. So.
Do you think I would ever visit Kamsack anywhere, Alberta or Saskatchewan?
Probably not. And everybody is always, it's funny, living in Arizona, everybody's like, oh my God, you're from Canada, it's so beautiful. And I'm like, well, that's probably Vancouver you're talking about, or Montreal, not Saskatchewan, where your dog runs away and you can see it for days.
So Hordy, we were talking earlier about what put you on the map was your legendary 2 fights with Mel Engelstad. And if people don't remember that, I encourage them to Google it. Talk us through that a little bit, how that happened. And how that experience was for you.
Yeah, so you know what, I grew up in Saskatchewan working on the farm, and just like any kid, you're like, man, this kind of sucks, picking rocks for $8 an hour and shoveling grain. So I was like, basically my only way out of Saskatchewan was probably fighting. So I kind of, started to fight at juniors, and next thing you know, I got, drafted as a 19 years old. I didn't even get drafted my 18-year-old year because my coach at the time when I played for the Blades was Brad McCrimmon, and he called Atlanta and he said, just take this guy in the last round, take a chance on him. So I go to their camp at Atlanta's, get cut, and next thing you know, I'm playing for the Orlando Solar Bears, and I'm just doing what I always do, just no puck on the ice, running around with my head cut off, not playing a system, just trying to hit everything that moves. And sure enough, the whole team starts to want to fight me. And at the time, I'm used to, think about this. The year earlier, I'm fighting 16 to 20-year-olds, and now I'm fighting guys that are, 20 to 40 years old. So the whole team's trying to come after me. Jimmy Roy at the time for the Manitoba Moose wanted to fight me. And I just finally said, I'm like, listen, just send out your toughest guy. I'll fight your toughest guy. And I literally remember the flashbacks. I see this guy, his nose is on the other side of his face. Him skating to me, I was like, oh my God, this guy's got to be tough, because you don't have a guy like that on the team unless, he's their fighter. And we squared off. And after that fight, both of us, we hit each other, I don't even know how many times, realized, holy crap, this is what I got to do the rest of my life. And I'm like, maybe it's easier to go back to the farm and shovel grain and pick rocks. But yeah, that fight definitely put me on the map. And the coaching staff literally called me up 3 weeks later and said, you're going to be fighting the NHL from now on, these kind of guys. And I was like, oh, great. Can you pay me the minimum? And yeah, that's what happened for the last 13 years.
So I remember listening to you before talk about how you think the fighters should be paid the big bucks, right? And the goalies and the star players should be paid the league men.
Well, the reality is it's tough to score from the bench, right? So had I not came in the league as a fighter, I would have probably got Burrows. I look at him and I feel like in rec hockey right now, I'm the Alex Burrows of hockey. I play on a line with Dave Scatchard and Greg Adams, and every goal, guys, or every game, guys are like, dude, how did you not score in the NHL? And I'm like, I wasn't the Alex Burrows where my coach was French Canadian and I got to play, between the Sedin twins. I'm like, at the end of the day, anybody could score goals. You go in the front of the net, the puck bounces off you. It's how do you get ice time to score those goals? Now, if I told you guys, both you guys, I'm like, hey, go in the parking lot. There's going to be this dude. He's going to be black. He's going to be 6'6", and he wants to kick the crap out of you. Oh, and by the way, your hand's kind of jacked up because you fought somebody the night before, and you still got to fight him again. Oh, and your eyes kind of shut, so you got to still fight the guy again, and he knows your eyes shut. He knows that you fought, and he's trying to catch you at the end of the shift. Here's $3,000 for doing that, right? You're like, are you kidding me? So of course, I think anybody that watches the game realizes, the fighters. But whatever. You be grateful. I mean, I'm getting as paid much sitting behind an office now as when I played in the NHL. I'm like, this is great. Like I wasted 15 years of my life taking punches.
But like this is Hordy. Like this is who Hordy is. I remember a story where Burr had 2 hat tricks in a row, and then all of a sudden he can't find his stick, and Hordy's out there, cut it down, and he's like, well, fuck Burr. You did it. Why can't I? I'm like, all I need is a good stick, good curve. Just got to figure this thing out.
Oh, my God. I switched sticks. I think that one year I went through 4 different guys. Whoever would have a streak, I ended up using their stick. I'll never forget. I used JP Dumont's stick. The blade was like 4 inches. It was 3 inches shorter than every other stick. And I'm like, what the hell? That's where I hit rock bottom. Like JP would score every day with it. And he would convince me to use the stick. And I'm like, what am I doing? But anyways, it is what it is. You look back, and now the stick that I had been playing with, I'm like, I should have been playing for the last 10 years. Rafi Torres curve, boom, top cheese every time.
Okay, well let's stop talking about hockey. Let's talk about the stuff that you're actually good at, like the off ice stuff, right? So I have a list of stories right here to ask you about. Like, there's just too many with you, right? But and we don't have like a 3-hour show, so let's ask you about. Do you want me to set it up for you, or I'll ask you what you remember about the mother's trip on the plane?
You know what? Somebody told me I got about 50 tweets after you about borrowing money from my mom for gambling, and I was telling everybody like, well, how did you have to borrow? And I'm like, I just had a pocket full of change because usually you guys are always playing for nickels and dimes. I didn't realize we were going to play the big boys games all of a sudden. So I didn't bring the big bills that time to play poker with you guys because Louis, every time Louis plays, he's like, oh, trying to make all the rules and trying to be in charge of everything. And I'm like, Louis, listen, we all put in the same amount of money. Like you don't have, I know that you think you're the captain and I know that you think you make all the rules, but at the end of the day, like we all put the same money in, like relax.
Let's go to Louis. Let's go to the Louis relationship because you guys had a love-hate relationship. Like you loved him and he hated you, right? So I remember probably the last straw was you came into the dressing room the one day and you start telling everybody, guys are like, oh, don't read the mentions. And you're like, oh, I read the mentions. I like reading them. So I think the one day Louis goes, hey, Hordy, what are the mentions saying today? And you're like, $62 million mistake. Following Roberto's big contract that he signed. Do you remember that day?
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, man. Everybody was so scared of Louis, but I loved ripping on Louis because Louis was like one of these guys that, just kind of did his own thing. Let's play poker. Let's do this. And I'm like, Louis, we got a team dinner today and we would really, like you to kind of be there. And he's like, well, I'm not coming to team dinner. I'm like, honestly, Louis, nobody cares if you're there. Just give us your credit card. You're the captain. Just give us your credit card. Oh my God.
If my memory serves me correctly, didn't you try to buy his G-Wagon off him for like Lululemon gift cards that you got from Bauer?
Hey, not only did I buy the G-Wagon, so he didn't want to sell it to me. And I said, Louis, at the end of the day, if you put it on Auto Trader, somebody's going to come to your house. They're going to find out where you live. So I talked them into it that they're going to rob you. They're going to know where your wife is. And I don't know if you guys remember, but that was the big news when his place got broken into already. So Louis was already scared and gun shy because somebody tried to break into his place when he was out of town. So I was like, Louis, you don't need somebody knowing where. Just sell it to me and I'll give you a good deal. We'll make it a win-win. And dude, I felt like the biggest baller. I was driving that G-Wagon around 500. Like I own the city. I'm like, dude, everybody's like, oh my God. And they're like, what year is it? I'm like, it's about 15 years old.
Yeah, but the thing was, you didn't change over the registration, so you were driving it around getting parking and they were all going back to Louis.
Yeah, they were going back to Louis. Yeah, that's a veteran. That's what you call a veteran move. And I ended up driving it for I think eight months, and then I ended up selling it because I went to fix. You know, when you do the windows, it was like $1,000. Anything you were to fix on that thing, it was $1,000. And I was like, okay, there goes my day's wage. So I'm like, I'm going to go back to reality and drive my whatever Grand Prix GT at the time I was driving.
So you remember, this is got a little bit of Louis in it too, but you used to love giving the dressing room tours, right, after games, and then it kind of spilled over to the one year Kess and Roberto lived in the same building on the same floor, and there was only 3 or 4 units on the floor. You used to give tours of their apartment building as well, right?
Oh, dude, I was the king. Hey, I tell everybody to this day, the only reason I made the NHL is because I used to go and tour like locker rooms, and I'm like, this is where you get inspired as a kid, right? And I couldn't say no to anybody. Like I was the guy where you wanted to go after the game and meet the players. Not thinking we just lost 4-2 and Louis, is pouting. I thought with a guaranteed contract at $62 million, you're never going to be upset or pouting. And these people would come in the room and be like, Louis, what happened on this shot or what happened on this? And finally, Gillis came to me. He's like, dude, no more locker room. It's done. So I used to sneak around Gillis. He didn't even know. I would be like trying to get people through, and I'm like, just the last one. I promise. This is the last. Because for my charity golf tournaments, it was automatic. It was a Sedin stick. It was a locker room tour, and tickets to the Vancouver Canucks. That was my go-to. And yeah.
So what about you're talking about the sticks. You used to be accused of taking a lot of sticks, right, during the game. Like if you weren't playing some games, sticks would go missing. So I remember after a while and enough accusations, we went to the security video, and we actually saw you going into the cage during the game and just like a little kid on Christmas, like taking as many sticks as you can carry and bringing them down to the parking lot while we're
so
out
true.
Hey, we'll relax. First of all, it wasn't the cage because it was locked. It was in the locker room. There's some extra Sedin sticks. And I tried to take both the year before, and they went for $40 in my charity event. So I was like, I got to get a bigger name to sell at the golf tournament. So the Sedins were the ones in demand. And everybody was doing it, but somehow I was the bad guy for taking the two. And yeah, maybe I took more than 2. Maybe there was like 5 or 6 or 7.
Or a couple
but
dozen.
I sure wish I took more now. Those would have came in handy. I'd be stockpiled right now for sticks. Instead, I'm paying $170 a stick. So how about this? I just did my alumni charity event 2 days ago with the Coyotes, and I see this picture. Do you guys remember this where I have Braden on my chest, and how much of a ribbing you guys used to give me that, where Braden, remember that naked picture of me?
Yes. Huh? Yeah.
Oh my God. So I got to tell everybody this story. So I'm new to Vancouver, don't even know what media is, playing in hot markets like Arizona and Nashville that love hockey sometimes, didn't really know what it was. Come to Vancouver, and all of a sudden the media is like, hey, you got to do this picture. It's going to be an intimate picture with your kid on your chest, and it'll be a good keepsake. The Twins have done it in the past, and everybody that's had babies, I think they even said you did, Cass, and everybody's done this, and this is kind of the thing to do. And they said LaBarber's going to do it. Well, LaBarber was bigger than I was, so I'm like, if LaBarber's going to do this, I'm going to do this. Next thing you know, I've got my son's all dressed up, daddy's little boy. I've got my shirt off, and they're like, no, you got to take your clothes off. And I'm like, what do you mean I got to take my clothes off? So I put my son basically on my chest. I'm covering his butt, and I'm now with my shirt off. And I just remember for like 9 days straight, the Bacon brothers are getting shot and killed that whole month. And on the front news of the paper is the Bacon brothers shooting. And I remember walking by this patio, and I have this exact picture on the patio. And I'm like, oh my God. They told me, first of all, it was going to be a small little picture, and they said LaBarbera was going to be on it. And next thing you know, every patio had this picture. So I come in the locker room, and of course, Kess and Juice, they're like, have you seen this pedophile? So for like a month, I'm getting ripped. And now everywhere I go,
we didn't even know you had a kid. We're like, whose kid is that? I didn't know you were the son.
Oh,
Amber alert.
Exactly. God.
You know what's funny?
Right.
We're obviously going to post that pic on our website, but do you remember that this could be worse than that, right? This could be the worst thing I've ever seen you do. I was coming back on Olympic break, 2010. No, it wasn't 2010. Anyways, I was coming back from a break and I was at the airport, and in Vancouver, there was a really long customs line. So I'm in line.
Oh my God.
Let me tell my version, because my version from the line is probably more accurate than yours. So I'm in line with my family, and I got a wife and 2 young kids, and we're waiting in line, and it's probably an hour-long lineup coming back from Hawaii to get through customs to get in. And we're kind of going through the paces. There's like a million little turns, and my wife goes, "Oh, look, there's Darcy." And Darcy, so I see Darcy coming, and he's got his wife, Lisa, who's 100% capable, good-looking woman in good shape, and she's in a wheelchair. And we're like, oh, I wonder what happened to Lisa. And he's wheeling her, and she's got like this sheepish look on her face, like you made her do something. And then take her from there. So you bypass the whole hour lineup, and you're just trying not to laugh.
Oh, my God. So this is exactly
this is true.
Bang on point. So what happened is, during the Olympics, I rented out my house or King's Landing that overlooked the park to Nike, and it was Nike and Lululemon. So I had like 10 grand. So we all decided to go to Hawaii. So me and Burr ended up staying in a place, and then, having a chef and Bernier and everybody. We all kind of came out there. So I blow that 10 grand in like the 5 days. I'm like a rock star. So then I realized, okay, we got to get back. Obviously, the season starting, and I go to the airport, and I didn't, obviously go 2 hours before. I think I went like right at 50 minutes, and I look, and there's this hour and a half line, and I'm like, babe, we're going to miss the flight. So as I look at you guys are like, dude, like, you're screwed. You're going to miss the flight. You're not even going to be on there. You're probably going to get shit from the coaches. So I go to the guy, and I grease him. I go, here's $100, dude. Can you please get me to the front line? He goes, not a chance. So I said, what do I got to do to get by? He's like, you see that wheelchair over there? And I will not park in a handicap parking, because I think it's bad karma. All this stuff is bad karma. What goes around comes around. Like, I remember the one time I blocked the shot, Pronger shot it, broke my foot when I parked in a handicap. I'll never do it again. So I look at Lisa. I'm like, Lisa, if I miss this flight, I'll probably get put on waivers and cut. Like, I'm not the guy on the team that can miss the flight. So I'm like, you got to sit in the wheelchair. And she goes, what do you mean? I'm not sitting in the wheelchair. You sit in the wheelchair. I'm like, I can't sit in the wheelchair. Like, you. So we're arguing back and forth. Thank God I was making NHL money at the time. She sits in the wheelchair. I remember you guys looking at me as I'm pushing it past everybody to the front of the line, go through security, and then literally they push her onto the plane. She gets up and walks, and thank God that happened, because we got in the plane and never missed the flight. But I would never do that again, unless I was going to miss the team game, because the team needed me so much back then.
So magic's one of your passions, right? And card tricks, specifically,
and penny stocks too.
Penny stocks, love penny stocks. Yeah, Vancouver's good to me.
So this one time, Hordy comes into the dressing room this one day, and he says, "Boys, get rich quick scheme. Like, we're all going to be like we're all going to be as rich as Lou." That's what he says, right? And he goes, "I got this penny stock. It's called Golden Peaks. And we're all going to get in. We're going to buy it for like 2 cents. And this thing is going to be at $1.10 by like next week." So obviously all the gullible guys like Mason Raymond and Alex Burrows, they jump all over this thing, right? And most of us are just like, okay, let's kind of wait and see where this thing plays out. So I remember every week coming in, and Burr would have the update for us. Golden Peaks is at 3 cents. Like, it didn't go up. Like, it literally didn't go up. And then I think everyone kind of got everybody got averaged in at maybe 10 cents, and it actually started going down. The guys started losing money on this get rich quick scheme. Is that thing still around? Golden Peaks?
Oh no, that cost me a lot of money. Yeah, you realize that if it trades on the OTC, maybe stay away from it a little bit. But I've been in probably about another 30 of those since then. So it only takes one, though. That's the great thing. It only takes one to hit, and then you're good to go. But I'm still waiting for that one.
So we had every time we go for dinner, you love to engage with the waiter or waitress, and you had this card trick that you did all the time. And after I saw it enough times, it was so predictable, right? You would say, okay, I'm like a magician, you know, I know. So like pick a card in your head, pick a card, any card, and like a card, like if somebody was coming in, they were walking down that red carpet right there, you know, and you're trying to put these ideas in people, and you'd always guess either the Queen of Hearts or the Ace of Spades, right? Was there anything? Was there any more to it? Was there any more to that, or was that basically your only strategy?
Everybody says the Ace of Spades. Everybody will always say the Ace of Spades. When you put pressure on them, it's always the Ace of Spades. So if you say, hey, think of a card, any card, say it real fast. Boom, people would say the Ace of Spades. But they'd sometimes fall back to like the Queen of Hearts or, you know, a couple other cards. But yeah, no, I had fun. Obviously, when you're in the minors and you're on the long bus road trips, and the only thing you could really do is read, and I hated reading, so I'd watch videos on Magic, and yeah, it was fun.
Okay, so just everyone, we can see Hordy while we're doing this interview, right? And we all got kind of the FaceTime. But so just keep in mind right now, before I allow him to plug his new business, he's got no drywall on the wall behind him. I don't think it's to code because there's pipes exposed. But Hordy, what are you up to these days?
You know what? So I'm actually working for a private aviation company called JetLinks. So that's been kind of fun, just getting a chance to fly with everybody. But I also have another company helping Canadians move to the U.S. It's called Canada to USA. And we have a discount program, which allows, you know, Canadians to save like 70% off of flights, hotels, 30% off of Disney World tickets, Vegas tickets. So it's just a fun way, with the dollar being the way that it is, for Canadians, making it affordable for them to come down to the U.S. and just enjoy kind of all the things that the U.S. has to offer. So, yeah, I think we're doing the promo code. If you go to our website, CanadaTousa.com, if you type in the promo code for our discount program, NHL 2020, because of you guys, we're going to give everybody 40% off, which is, instead of $49.95, it's $29.95. And it just gives you discounts for everywhere in the country. It gives you discounts if you're in Arizona for Coyote hockey games. It's just a way for Canadians to kind of come down and make it more affordable. And yeah, we give discounts of real estate fees. We give discounts of title insurance, on currency exchange. So kind of like what I used to do for the team all the time when I'd move there. I'd be like, okay, who's this and who's the connection for this and that. We kind of are creating the same model down here for people moving down. So.
Is this website legit, or is this going to be like put in your credit card info? We're going to charge you a monthly fee that automatically renews for six years.
Hey,
I'm so skeptical.
We'll give you your money back. If you don't save your $29.95 in your first couple bookings, we'll give you your money back. But so far, we got 20,000 people that are subscribed to it and that are happier than ever. So, I mean, these discounts are out there. It's like AARP uses the platform. You know, MasterCard uses the platform. Visa uses this platform. Costco. They just don't really allow Canadians to use this platform because it's more a U.S. thing. But because I am who I am and I'm creating my legacy, my dash in my life. When you're born, when you die, what's your dash? You know, this is going to be my dash, saving Canadians money so they can see the U.S. Come down to Phoenix. Why shovel snow, right? Come enjoy it and embrace it. We start out with 80 pages on Google. We have 8,000 pages. So you get to learn where your connection in the U.S.
Yeah, but there's somebody that's intelligent running this company, right? Like, you're not at the head of this thing, right? Like, it's a pyramid, and you're like at the bottom of the
Well, hey, like any pyramid scheme, right? If you get in early, you're safe. No, listen, for $29 to save on rental cars and flights, like, who cares, right? Kess wouldn't even bend down to pick up $30, so give it a shot.
I miss Hordy in my life. Everybody needs a little Hordy in his life, right? Like,
hey, you know what?
Guy.
I was thinking about Kess. I'll never forget this. The only guy in the NHL I didn't want to fight is Bugard. So I'm like, before everyone's like, why don't you fight Bugard? I'm like, the guy never hits anybody. The guy's useless on the ice. Why would you hit somebody? Sure enough, I see Kess in the corner, head down, not paying attention, making it five mil a year, skating with his head down like Halsey. And I'm like, what the hell? Bugard lays the biggest hit I've ever seen in my life. And I'm like, oh my God. If it wasn't Kess, if it wasn't the Twins, I wasn't fighting. It had to be those three guys that were making all the money on the team. Probably why we didn't win a championship, because five guys were all making all the money on the team. Anyways, it doesn't bother me. So now I got to fight Bugard. The guy's trying to rip my eye out of my head after he like fell on me and crushed my back. And so, gosh, no wonder.
Thanks for that, Hordy. Eh? Thank you.
You know what was one of your
that hurt.
You know what was one of your problems, Hordy?
What?
I remember the one practice we had. Remember we had like that 9-game losing streak, right? Where you were there for that. And we had a practice. We had one of those practices where it's like everyone's on edge. Like coaches, like Bones is yelling the whole practice. Vino's yelling the whole practice.
Yep.
And they're like, okay, we're doing this drill. We're going to break it out. We're going to chip it. We're going to have a forechecker. And then once we do that, we're going to get in zone. We're going to do one cycle and we're going to go D to D shot. So everybody's like totally focused. Everybody's like ready to do this drill properly. So first line goes, like you said, the Sedins. Cass's line goes. Third line goes. So here's Hordy. Hordy's already watched the drill 3 fucking times, right? So Hordy goes, and of course he's fucking clueless, has no idea what's going on. The puck
No clue.
Gets the breakout part, and Hordy's just like in no man's land in the middle of the ice, doesn't know what he's doing. They go to dump the puck in for the 2 forwards to cycle it, and the puck, you just panic, you turn around, and you just one-time the puck on net. And Vino blows the whistle, and he couldn't even contain himself. He just starts laughing like, what the fuck are you doing?
Hey, and here's the crazy thing. Then he bag skated the crap out of me. I was the only guy. Do you remember that one practice? And
You had to forecheck the whole time.
I had to forecheck the whole time because I got him a $10,000 fine like the practice before. Remember when I fought Cam Janssens at like 5 minutes? And if you fought under 5 minutes, the coach got a fine for $10,000. So he ripped me a new one. He's like, "What the fuck are you thinking fighting Janssens at 5?" I'm like, well, I actually tried to fight him at 5'10", but he dropped his gloves till 4:45. So here's Elaine just like, oh my God, it's bad enough I'm on the team already, and now I have to deal with Hordichuck to get me a $10,000 fine. But
He kept telling you to hit Matthew Schneider.
Oh yeah, we had a meeting in Detroit where we had a bad start to the season, and remember Vino went around the dressing room to every single guy and was like, underachieving, overachieving, like 1 or 2 guys underachieving.
I remember that. Yeah.
He goes to Schneids, and then after he's done going through, Schneids goes, "What about you, Elaine?"
And then he sent Hordichuck after him all practice.
Oh my gosh. That was the best. Schneids, you couldn't tell him what to do. Schneids was the only guy on the team that was brave enough to put remember that 3-inch nail that he put through my brand new shoes that I got from Murphy, whatever it was called. And I literally couldn't get my shoe out. Huh?
It was from Skechers, and it was in Colorado.
I was in the NHL. It was either Boss because I was in the NHL and thought I had all this money. Yeah, but he threw this spike right through the middle of my sole into the my locker, and I couldn't even get it out. I literally had to.
Remember, you blamed me for that for the longest time.
Oh yeah, well, it was always you or him or somebody doing something stupid. Every time I'd go for the team meal, there'd always be a table set aside for just myself, and I'm like, who the hell did this? And there's like everybody's pointing at Cass, and I'm like, oh my God, dude, here we go. Bad enough that I've been scratched 3 games in a row, and now I got Cass putting my own food on table. But anyways, still got paid the same. That's all good.
Hordy, I think you're gonna have to be our first repeat guest because we just have so many more stories to talk about with you. But unless Cass has any more questions for him.
No. You've been amazing, Hordy. You've been like I always remembered you. You're a funny dude that literally I could sit and listen to you and laugh my ass off. If I'm having a bad day, I just need to hear you talk about the old days and talk about stories, and I'll just start laughing.
Hordy, just a little bit to pump your tires just a little bit on a serious note. I always say this when people ask me, who's the toughest guy you ever played with? And I honestly say, like, toughest guy I ever played with was Rafi Torres, but after that, it was Darcy Hordichuck. And no, seriously, I say you, and the reason I say you is because, like I said at the beginning of the show, you're 6'1", 215, and you consistently fighted guys that were 6'5", 240, 250, 260, and you did so because it was your job and you needed the money, but you also did so because you're a good teammate, right? So let's call a spade a spade. I think it's toughness to me is fighting a guy who's bigger than you and a guy who you think you're probably going to lose to. Going into that fight, that's tough to me. And, you know, there's been some of the Cassian to Chuck incidents that happened in the past there. And to me, to fight a guy who you think in your head, shit, I might lose to this guy, that's fucking tough. And you did that on a nightly basis for me, for Cass, for the Twins,
100%.
for Mace, and fuck, we love you for it, buddy.
Yeah.
No, it was fun. You know, like you look at guys that I should have been fighting, like Carcillo and that were kind of that middle heavyweight, and then you'd fight a guy like that, and I'm like, holy crap, I just destroyed this guy. Like, this is where I should really be at, but you know, unfortunately, they only have one tough guy, you know, towards the end, and I'm like, okay, here we go, Big George, let's do this. This will be fun. Here we go, Proby. Hey, love to fight you, Proby. Hey, what is Proby on today? Hopefully, he's not taking anything before the game, because I'm like, oh my gosh, here it is.
You had the game within the game with Peros, eh? Like, I remember the one game you guys fought 3 times. It had nothing to do with anything. It was just you two were in your own little game, and we were just like, it was like a sideshow where we'd watch you two fight 3 different times. You'd like motherfuck each other over the benches, and we're like, I'm looking at Getsy. I'm like, what's going on between these two? Is I don't know. They're in their own world right now. And then there would be the hockey game, and there would be like your game.
Well, because there's only like 6 tough guys in the league at the time, and we both knew that we should have been out of the league, and we're like, we got to get our fights up. We got to justify it. I'll never forget this. This is what he says to me, Peros. He signs a 3-year deal, and I go, and I don't have my deal done yet, right? So I go and I'm like, Peros, we're going this shift. And this is the meantime before we fought like 7 times. He goes, we're not going. I'm like, what do you mean we're not going? And I'm like, oh, you got your 3-year deal? We're not fighting anymore? So I go after, I don't know if you remember this shift. I go after Corey Perry, and I lay him out. I think I separated his shoulder in the corner. And all of a sudden, you know, the coach hated me. Your coach that you had in Winnipeg, what was his name? Carlisle. Like 5 seconds later, Peros comes to me, and he's like, what are you doing? And we had to square off and go. I'm like, exactly what I'm doing. I'm trying to get a contract with you for 3 years and then take 3 years off like you got to do. So, oh, gosh. The game within the game. I love it.
You're the best at it, buddy. Well, fuck, good luck with all this, all your other scams, your Canada to US scam and your waste management scam, getting people to come to the Waste Management Open. That's coming up soon, I think, right?
Yeah, you know what? Hey, if you guys have never been, I encourage every listener to come. Yeah, I'm part of the group that helps put on the Waste Management Open. Actually, $13 million went to the kids last year. We raised in 5 days, and I'm honored to be part of the 55 guys that put that tournament on. And, yeah, you'll see me out there with my Canadian pants. There's 3 of us Canadians in the group, and we're going to watch a little golf, have a couple tequilas, and if you see me in the course, say that you listen to this podcast, and I might even buy you a shot.
Right.
Boys, hey, we'll get the listeners up to 50, boys. I told you I'll get the listeners over 50. This is great. I can't believe I'm supposed to be on Smitten Chicklets right now, and I'm wasting my time on this podcast. But I'm like, whatever, these guys can play hockey together. Someday they're going to be big and famous.
We'll edit that shit out right there.
Yeah, right?
All right, you meatball. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks, Hordy.
Okay, boys. Hey, great job.
Hey, guys, thanks again for listening. Just remind you to subscribe to your favorite podcast found on kessenjuice.com. And, you know, why don't you come check us out at our Twitter accounts. Mine is Ryan at Ryan_Kessler. Juice's is at KBX3. And you can always find both of us at our Twitter account at KessenJuice. And you know what? We had a good time, didn't we, Juice?
We did. Do it again next week, same time.
We keep getting better. Boom. See ya.
Best.